Hello, hello, it's Miss Benigna, and today I'm going to read The Elf with Little Ears. Once upon a time, there was a tiny elf with little ears. The tiny elf didn't know how important listening was, and so he never used his listening ears. The elf lived at the North Pole and was one of Santa's helpers, except he wasn't very much help because he never followed instructions and would make a mess of things. The other elves wanted to help their friend, but he just wouldn't listen, and so he was always doing something wrong. The other elves tried to encourage their friend and said, friend elf, there's so much to know. Just stop, look, and listen and see how you grow. But the little elf did not listen. One day, Santa asked the elf with tiny ears to make some toys, but the elf did not listen to the instructions of how to make the toys, and so he did not do a good job. He put toy blocks on the trains instead of tires, and a pig face on the ballerina doll, and a party dress on the toy soldier. The other elves would say, friend elf, there's so much to know. Just stop, look, and listen and see how you grow. But the little elf did not listen. Once Santa asked the elf with tiny ears to help him feed the reindeer, but the elf did not turn on his listening ears, and he fed the reindeer 1,000,000 candy canes. The reindeers ate too many candy canes and their tummies hurt, and they could not play their reindeer games. The other elf said, friend elf, there's so much to know. Just stop, look, and listen and see how you grow. But the little elf did not listen. Then Santa asked the elf with tiny ears to help bake gingerbread cookies, but the little elf did not pay attention to the instructions, and he made Halloween gingerbread men and scared the other elves. The other elves begged their friend elf, there's so much to know. Just stop, look, and listen and see how you grow. But the little elf did not listen. Then Santa asked the elf with tiny ears to help pack his sleigh. The little elf packed toys for the naughty and none for the nice. Christmas was almost a disaster, and that is when Santa and the other elves made a plan. As the little elf slept, the other elves stayed up all night in hopes of helping their friend. The next morning, when the little elf woke, he found a present under the tree for him. The little elf opened his present, and he found tiny jingle bells inside. The elf jumped up and down and he ran all around, but he could not hear the bells make a sound. He wiggled and tossed them, and yet he could hear nothing. The little elf tossed his gift to the side. The other elves sighed, afraid that their plan had failed. To everyone's surprise, something magical happened that caused the little elf to stop jumping about. The little jingle bells glistened in the morning light. The elf with tiny ears looked over at the jingle bells and watched them as they began to gently dance like snowflakes blowing in the wind. The little elf listened with all his might, and suddenly he could hear the sweetest sound he had ever heard. Since the little elf had finally paid attention, he knew just what to do. He did what the magical jingle bells taught him to do. He listened. The other elves cheered. Friend elf, well, what do you know? You stopped, looked, and listened, and look at you grow. The little elf with tiny ears was surprised when he realized his ears were no longer tiny. They grew. From that day forward, the little elf decided to make different choices. He decided to turn on his listening ears when Santa gave instructions, and he knew just what to do. Now He made fun toys. He fed Santa's reindeer healthy foods to help them fly. He baked tasty gingerbread cookies. He packed Santa's sleigh with toys for the nice, and he did something else. He packed tiny jingle bells for the naughty with a note that read, little elf, there's so much to know. Just stop, look and listen, and see how you grow. The end.